The Urysohn characterization of normality. This characterization is known as Urysohn's lemma because Urysohn used this result as a lemma to prove something else, which we will be studying later as the Urysohn metrization theorem. The lemma states that a topological space X is normal if and only if it has the property that for any two mutually disjoint closed subsets A and B of the space X, there exists a continuous function f from X to unit interval such that f of X is equal to 0 for all X element of A and f of X is equal to 1 for all X element of B. So this is a characterization of normal spaces. Let us first prove the sufficiency part. That is, we are going to prove that if the space X has the property that for any two mutually disjoint closed subsets A and B of it, there exists a continuous function f from X to unit interval taking the value 0 at all points of A and the value 1 at all points of B, then X is normal. Now, to prove that X is normal, let us consider any two disjoint closed subsets A and B of X. Then, by assumption, there will exist a continuous function, say f from X to unit interval such that f maps every point of A to 0 and the image of every point of B will be 1. Consider the two sets G which is defined as closed open interval say 0 1 by 2 and H open closed interval 1 by 2 1. Then it is obvious that G and H are mutually disjoint. Also, we can observe that G can be expressed as the intersection of an open interval say minus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2 and the unit interval. Similarly, H can be expressed as the intersection of a suitable interval say open interval 1 by 2, 2 and the unit interval. Then we can observe that both G and H are open in the subspace closed interval 0 1 which can be regarded as a subspace of R. Since the function f is continuous, the sets U which is defined as f inverse of G and the set V which can be defined as f inverse of H will be open, being the inverse image of open sets. Also, since 0 belongs to G and 1 belongs to H, f inverse of 0 will be a member of f inverse of G, that is our U, and f inverse of 1 will belong to f inverse of H which is labeled as V. Therefore, we can say that every point of capital A will belong to U since f of X is equal to 0 for every X element of A. So, X belongs to f inverse of 0 for every X element of A. Therefore, A will be contained in U. Similarly, since f inverse of 1 belongs to V and we know that the image of every point of B is equal to 1, we can write B is contained in V. Thus, we have proved the existence of two mutually disjoint open sets which contain the two mutually disjoint closed sets. Hence, we can conclude that the space is normal. To prove the necessary part, we will need the following lemmas. Lemma 1 states that if f from X to unit interval is a continuous function and if for each t element of R, we let ft to be the collection of all points small x of the space capital X such that f of X is less than t, then the index family ft where t element of R has the following properties. First one, ft is an open subset of capital X for each t element of R. Second property states that ft is equal to phi for all t less than 0. Third property says that ft is equal to capital X for t greater than 1, and fourth property states that for any s and t element of R, s less than t implies that the closure of Fs is contained in Ft. Moreover, for each x element of capital X, f of x can be expressed as the infimum of set of all t element of Q where x belongs to Ft, where Q is the set of all rationals. Proof of this lemma is excluded from your syllabus. Lemma 2 statement: let X be a topological space and suppose collection of all Ft where t element of Q is a family of sets in X such that Ft is open in X for all t element of Q. Ft is equal to phi for all t element of Q such that t less than 0. Ft is equal to x for all t element of Q with t greater than 1, and Fs closure is contained in Ft for all s and t element of Q with s less than t. For x element of capital X, let f of x be defined as the infimum of the collection of all t element of Q for which x element of Ft. Then f is a continuous real valued function on capital X and it takes values in the unit interval, that is closed interval 0 1. Proof: for x element of capital X, let the collection of all t element of Q where x element of Ft be labeled as Gx. Then condition 3 implies that Ft is equal to x for all t element of Q where t greater than 1. So since Ft is equal to x, the whole space, we can say that x belongs to Ft for every x element of capital X and t element of Q with t greater than 1. Hence we can conclude that t belongs to Gx for every t element of Q with t greater than 1. Therefore, the set Gx will be non-empty. Now from condition 2, we know that Ft is equal to phi for all t element of Q with t less than 0. So we can say that t does not belong to Gx for all rationals t with t less than 0. So Gx is a collection of rationals, but no rational less than 0 will be a member of Gx. Hence we can say that 0 will be a lower bound of Gx, or that Gx is bounded below by 0, and this is true for any x element of capital X. Thus we have proved that the function f of x equal to infimum of g of x is well defined. Since Gx is bounded below, its infimum will exist, and this function will be obviously real valued on x. Also from condition 2, since 0 is a lower bound of our function, 0 will be definitely less than or equal to f of x. And from 3, we know that every rational greater than 1 will be a member of Gx, and hence the infimum of Gx will be less than or equal to 1, and hence f takes values in the unit interval. So we have proved that f is a real valued function on capital X and that it takes values in the unit interval. Now it remains to show that f is continuous. For this, first note that the family of all intervals of the form open interval minus infinity a or open interval b infinity for a and b element of R is a subbase for the usual topology on R. Hence, to prove that the function is continuous, it is enough to show that the inverse image of every member of a subbase is open in the domain. So, it is enough to show that f inverse of this interval minus infinity a and f inverse of this interval open interval b infinity are open in X. So, continuity of f will be established if we can prove that for any S element of R, the sets f inverse of open interval minus infinity S, that is the collection of all x element of capital X for which f of x is less than S, and the set f inverse of open interval S infinity, which can be expressed as the collection of all x element of capital X for which f of x is greater than S, are open in capital X. We will be doing this separately. Let smallest element of R, let H be the set of all small x element of capital X for which f of x is less than S. Here note that we cannot compare this set to the sets of the form Fs, since these sets are defined only when S is a rational. We claim that these sets H can be expressed as the union of sets of the form Ft where T element of Q T less than S. Suppose X element of H. Then from the definition of H, we can say that f of x will be less than S, that is infimum of Gx is less than S. This means that the real number S will not be the infimum of Gx. S is in fact greater than the infimum. So, there exists some element, say Q of Gx, such that Q is less than S. So, Q belongs to Gx, and this will imply that X element of Fq, since Gx is defined as the collection of all T element of Q with X element of Ft. So, since Q element of Gx, we can say that X will belong to Fq, where Q is a rational and Q is less than S. So, this set Fq will belong to this collection of all Ft's where T is a rational and T less than S. Therefore, we can say that X will belong to the union of all such sets. Thus, we have proved that the set H is a subset of this union. Conversely, we have to show that union of all these sets is contained in H. So, let us take a point X from this union, which implies that X belongs to Ft for some rational T with T less than S. We need to show that this X will be a member of H. But since X element of Ft where T is a rational, we can say that T belongs to Gx, and hence we can say that infimum of Gx will be less than or equal to T, that is f of x will be less than or equal to T, and since T is less than S by our assumption, we will get f of x is less than s. And this will imply that x belongs to H. Since H is in fact the collection of all x element of the space X for which f of x is less than s. Thus we have proved that whenever x belongs to this union, x belongs to H also. So we have proved that union of all ft for which t less than s is in fact contained in H. Thus we have proved that H is equal to union of sets of the form ft where t element of Q and t less than s. But we know that each of the sets in this collection, that is ft, are all open sets of the space X. So this is an arbitrary union of open sets. Hence H will be open using condition 1. Next, let us consider the set K, which is defined as the collection of all x for which f of x is greater than s. We need to show that this K is open in X by showing that its complement x minus a is closed in X. To prove this, we claim that x minus k can be expressed as the intersection of sets of the form ft closure where t element of Q and t greater than s. To prove this claim, suppose first that x element of x minus k. Every element of k satisfies the inequality f of x greater than s. Since small x is a member of complement of k, we can say that f of x will be less than or equal to s. Now, suppose that t is a rational and t is greater than s. Since we need to show that this small x belongs to this intersection of all ft closure where t is any rational with t greater than s. So we consider an arbitrary rational number t with t greater than s. We will need to show that this small x belongs to ft closure. Now f of x is less than or equal to s and we have the inequality s less than t. That is f of x is strictly less than t. But we know that f of x is equal to infimum of gx. Therefore, infimum of gx is in fact less than t, which implies that t is not a lower bound of gx. Hence, we can say that there will be at least one element of gx which is less than t. Therefore, there exists, say, q element of gx such that q is less than t. Since gx is the collection of all t element of q where x element of ft, and here q is an element of gx, so we can say that x will belong to fq. Q less than t implies that fq closure is contained in ft using property 4. Since q is a rational, we had already assumed that small t is a rational, so both q and t are rationals and hence we can definitely apply the condition 4, which will give us the relation fq closure is contained in ft. Thus we have x element of fq and fq is a subset of its closure, and from this relation we will have fq closure is contained in ft and ft is a subset of its closure, that is small x is a point of ft closure. for every T element of Q with T greater than S. Thus we can say that X belongs to the intersection of all such FT closures. That is, X minus K is contained in this intersection. To prove the converse part, suppose that X is a point of this intersection of all sets of the form FT closure where T element of Q, T greater than S. We need to prove that X belongs to X minus K. For this, we will need to show that f of X is less than or equal to S. If possible, assume that f of X is not less than or equal to S. That is, f of X is greater than S. Let Q and T be rational numbers such that S less than Q less than T less than f of X. Then clearly X will not be a member of FQ closure, for otherwise, that is, if X were a member of FQ closure, then since Q less than T will be getting the relation FQ closure contained in FT using property for, and this would have implied that X belongs to FT. And if this were true, then since T is a rational and X belongs to FT, we would have obtained that T belongs to Gx, which will imply that f of X, which is the infimum of this set Gx, will be less than or equal to T. A contradiction, since here T is less than f of X, that is, f of X is greater than T. So f of X less than or equal to T is not possible. So X element of closure of FQ is not possible. Therefore, as we claimed, X will not be a member of FQ closure. Thus, we have obtained a rational Q where Q is greater than S and X does not belong to FQ closure, a contradiction, since we had assumed that X belongs to the intersection of all sets of the form FT closure where T element of Q and T greater than S. But Q is a rational which is greater than S and X does not belong to FQ closure. Thus we have arrived at a contradiction again. Hence, our assumption that f of X is not less than or equal to S, this assumption must be wrong. Therefore, f of X must be less than or equal to S, which implies that X element of X minus K. So we can conclude that intersection of all FT closure where T element of Q and T greater than S is a subset of X minus K. We already proved that X minus K is a subset of this intersection. Therefore, as we had claimed earlier, X minus K is equal to intersection of these sets. And we can see that each of these sets is a closed set, being the closure of a set. Hence, this is an arbitrary union of closed sets, and we know that arbitrary union of closed sets is closed. So, X minus K is closed and hence K is open as required. So, both H and K are open sets and hence, as noted before, this completes the proof of the continuity of small f and the proof of our lemma 2. Now, to prove the sufficiency part of Urysohn's lemma, we will be applying lemma 1 and lemma 2. In the sufficiency part, we will be assuming that the space is normal, we need to prove that if A and B are two mutually disjoint closed subsets of capital X, there exists a continuous function f from x to unit interval such that f of x equal to 0 for all x element of A and f of x equal to 1 for all x element of B. To construct such a continuous function, we define a family of sets Ft where T element of Q satisfying the conditions of lemma 2. For T less than 0, we can let Ft to be the empty set since we want our family to satisfy all the conditions listed in lemma 2. So, for T greater than 1, we have no choice other than letting Ft to be the set X itself. Now, let F1 to be the set X minus B. Then F1 will be open in X and hence it will satisfy condition 1 of lemma 2. Now, we are going to define the set F0. We can define F0 to be any open set containing A such that F0 closure is contained in X minus B. Since using condition 4 of lemma 2, we have the relation F0 closure should be contained in F1 as 0 is less than 1. Since the space is normal, A is closed, X minus B is open and A is contained in X minus B, there will exist an open set, say F0, such that a subset of F0 and F0 closure is contained in X minus B using a characterization of normality. Hence, a set of the form F0 which satisfies this condition will definitely exist. Thus, we have defined the sets Ft where T is any rational less than 0. Similarly, we have defined all sets Ft for any rational greater than 1. Now we have defined F1 also. Here we have defined F0. Now it remains to construct Ft for all rationals T which lie in between 0 and 1. We enumerate the set of rationals in closed interval 0, 1 as Q0, Q1, Q2, etc., Qn, etc. with Q0 equal to 0 and Q1 equal to 1. Now we know that the sets Fq0 and Fq1 are already defined. Now let us consider Q2. Clearly, Q2 is a rational which lies in between 0 and 1. Hence, Q0 less than Q2 less than Q1. We need to construct the set Fq2. Let us define Fq2 to be any open set so that condition 1 of lemma 2 is satisfied such that Fq0 closure is contained in Fq2 since Q0 less than Q2 and we need to satisfy the condition 4 of lemma 2 and obviously Fq2 will be a subset of its closure and Fq2 should satisfy the relation Fq2 closure subset of Fq1. Since Q2 is less than Q1 and we need to make sure that condition 4 of lemma 2 is satisfied. So FQ2 closure must be contained in FQ1 also. Such a set will definitely exist by the normality of space X. Since Q0 is less than Q1, FQ0 closure will be contained in FQ1. So FQ0 closure is a closed set and FQ1 is an open set of the normal space X. By a characterization of normal spaces, then we can say that there will exist an open set, say FQ2, such that the closed set FQ0 closure will be contained in this new open set FQ2 and its closure of FQ2 will be contained in the open set FQ1. So, an open set of the form FQ2 which satisfies this relation will definitely exist. Now, let us suppose that n is greater than or equal to 3 and that the open sets FQ1, FQ2, etc. FQn minus 1 are already defined so as to satisfy the condition 4 of lemma 2. Now let us consider Qn. We need to define the set FQn. Let Qi be defined as the maximum of QR where 0 less than or equal to R less than or equal to n minus 1 and QR less than Qn. That is, Qi is defined as the largest among those of Q0, Q1, etc. Qn minus 1 which are less than Qn. Similarly, let Qj be the smallest of Q0, Q1, etc. Qn minus 1 which are greater than Qn. That is, Qj is equal to minimum of QR where 0 less than or equal to R less than or equal to n minus 1 and QR is greater than Qn. Then Qi will be less than Qn and Qn will be less than Qj. Since Qi is less than Qj, by inductive hypothesis, FQi closure is contained in FQj. Since we have assumed that all the sets FQ0, FQ1, FQ2, etc., FQn minus 1, all these sets satisfy conditions 1 and 4 of our lemma 2. So, since Qi less than Qj, by condition 4, we must have FQi closure contained in FQj. Now, again by applying characterization of normality, there will exist an open set FQn such that this closed set FQi closure is contained in this new open set FQn and the closure of the new open set FQn closure will be contained in this open set FQj. Thus we can say that Qi is less than Qn and FQi closure is contained in FQn. Similarly, here we have Qn is less than Qj and FQn closure is contained in FQj. Therefore, condition 4 of lemma 2 is satisfied for the new open set FQn also. This completes the inductive step in the definition of the family Ft and also shows that the family of sets Ft where T element of Q satisfies all the conditions of lemma 2. So, the function defined by the definition f of x equal to infimum of gx where gx is the collection of all t element of q where x element of ft is a continuous function from x into closed interval 0, 1. Now, if x element of A, then x belongs to F naught, as F naught is an open set containing A, and hence we can say that 0 will belong to Gx, which will imply that infimum of Gx will be less than or equal to 0. That is, f of x is less than or equal to 0. But we know that f of x is always greater than or equal to 0. Therefore, f of x must be equal to 0 whenever x element of A. Similarly, if x element of B, then for any t element of Q with t less than or equal to 1, t equal to 1 will imply that f t, that is f1, is equal to x minus b, and hence x does not belong to f1. Also, when t is less than 1, we have ft, subset of ft closure is contained in f1, which is defined as x minus b. So, small x will not be a member of x minus b. So, small x does not belong to f1. Therefore, small x will not be a member of ft also. Therefore, for any t element of Q with t less than or equal to 1, x does not belong to ft, which implies that t does not belong to Gx. So, infimum of Gx will be greater than or equal to 1. That is, f of x is greater than or equal to 1, which implies that f of x must be equal to 1. Thus, we have proved that the function f defined here is a continuous real valued function from x into unit interval such that it maps every point of capital A to 0 and every point of capital B to 1. Thus, the proof of this theorem is complete.